I fell victim to desire. I ran across a yarn that I've always wanted to knit with, and I bought it. And I didn't think about it. I just heard the name and I was like, oh my God. Saw the name and was like, oh my God. And so I bought it. And it wasn't until later that I realized, I don't know why. I actually bought a couple of things because, you know, so I am sometimes led by my wardrobe, right? And that's when I think I make the best decisions. When I'm like, you know what? If I had this item, I would wear it with this and this and this and this. And if I continually want to do so, I buy the yarn and I cast it on. In this case, I wanted a brown vest because I have a lot of t-shirts, like graphic t-shirts that I like, and I like wearing those with suits. So suit pants, suit jacket, or some combination therein, not necessarily the same fabric, but you know what I mean. And I like wearing it with a graphic tee underneath, but sometimes I want sort of that feeling without the graphic, or I want to be able to take the jacket off and not be quite so casual. Brown vest was the answer. Why brown? Because of this yarn. So this yarn is Juniper Moon Farm Patagonia, and I've just realized that I left my my lights on the charger. I'll cut in footage. I can't. I'm not going. I just know that's not a thing that's going to happen. It's going to be really hard to pick this color up without it blowing out anyway. It is one of those browns that has every color in it. I can see red, I can see green, I can obviously see brown, but it's the brown that is all of the colors, not a uniform brown, but a really, really beautiful sort of everyman brown. And it goes really well with charcoal. I'm not wearing charcoal pants, I can't show you, but it goes really well with charcoal. I wore charcoal pants to make sure that the yarn that I got would go with the pants. Do you do that? I do that. It helps. I don't know, I think it's gonna go, but if I'm sitting there and I can just go like that, then I know. But I knew it was gonna be this yarn because I've kind of been dreaming about this yarn ever since I saw it in a local yarn shop and did not buy it, and kind of kicked myself for it. And to a certain extent still am, because the lovely lady whom I bought this from, her winder is about 6 inches from her swift. So the ball, when I got this same yarn to make a shawl, the ball was about this big. It was massive. This was wound much more tightly. And so it means the yarn is a little bit thinner because this is a woolen spun merino. So it has, you know, you can pull it pretty tight, and that's not always a good thing. So I actually almost, I don't think I'm going to, because it would just be a little bit crazy, but there is a part of me that thinks I should just rewind this gently under less tension. I have swatched with it, and I found a funny thing with these swatches. So I swatched with it on 6s and on 5s. Look at the drape difference. This is the 5s and this is the 6s. Because it is this much denser, and it bloomed, I think, more when there was more room to bloom into. So when I was on Ravelry, and I don't know if you do this, it's a thing that I do. I'm always talking about fabric singing. It would be really cool if it actually sang, you know, but that's not a thing that happens. Anyway, losing my mind. 22 over 4 inches was when I looked at the product pages, and I'm like, ooh, that fabric. Ooh, that fabric. You know, the ones that jump out at you and make you happy, every single one of those was 22 over 4 inches, which is this swatch here. The difference in fabric between the two of these, This almost feels like a fingering weight, and this feels like a DK weight, which is crazy. That it's weird for me. I feel like usually when you have a drapier fabric, it also feels slightly thinner because there's more sort of air between, so it can flatten itself a little more. And I like a woolen spun, so I don't think that that's the difference here. I don't know what's going on. If you know, you know what to do. Because this is the fabric that I love, but I also love this fabric. I'm going to use this fabric because the Moriarty vest, which is a vest that I wear all the time, and I love the fit because it has short row shaping to move where the shoulders are. So it sits perfectly. I don't fiddle with it during the day. I don't adjust it. I just, wear it. And that to me is huge, so that speaks very highly of the construction. I can't remember the lovely woman's name who made that. She's French. It'll be in the description box. So I'm going to make another one. I'm going to do a slightly modified version, but it will be pretty much the same. The only thing I'm thinking of is if I want to add cables along here, which now that I say it out loud, I don't want to do. But I kind of feel like I should have. I kind of feel like I should have a detail, even though I don't know that it needs a detail. That's kind of silly. We'll see. Why would I? I don't know. That's interesting. I think I want to put the detail on so that there's a detail, but I don't think it needs a detail. It's not going to change. In fact, if anything, it could potentially compete with the graphic tee I will be intending to wear underneath it. So if you can see some of the graphic, it would be very busy. It would be too busy. That's a thing. And some of my graphic tees, you will be seeing them. I am going to raise the V. I'm going to increase the rate of increases so that I get it's a pretty deep V, the one that I currently have. I want to go for more of here where I'm joining, which is fine. That's very easy, right? I'm going to increase faster. I don't remember how it's written. I haven't looked at it again, but I'm still doing the playing with the fabric thing. I really do love this yarn though. I really want to sing its praises, especially because I should, knock on wood, famous last words, need 2 skeins for this, which is $30. Which 2 skeins of merino, a garment out of beautiful, I think it's even organic merino, and it's $15 a skein, sometimes $16 a skein for this stuff, which is, and you get 383 yards. It is a light DK weight, but it does bloom beautifully. The shawl that I have using it is, I knit that on US 7s, 7s or 8s, can't remember now. I think it was 7s. And it does not appear to be, it's garter, so it's more forgiving of a looser gauge, but it doesn't appear to be problematic in any way. So there are a range of gauges that you can knit this stuff on, and be very happy. And be very, very happy. It's just funny how much finer this one feels. That's my only sort of thing that's not bothering or worrying me. It's not like it's a problem. It's just confusing. It's confusing. Nonetheless, how good is this going to be? We'll see if you can see this. If not, you'll be looking at a drop-in photo, because the colors on this are so good. They're so good, like a reddy greeny brown. How is that possible? I don't know. There's actually, I'm looking at a red fiber. There's a red fiber, and this is definitely part of the thing. So I can't get over that. I can't get over how much drapier it is at a tighter gauge. I'm sure that if I went one tighter, it would not do that. It would be a stiffer fabric. It's just something. It's just a thing. Well, I was at Middleton, Mass? Something like that. A lovely, lovely place called the Yarn Patch. The Wool Patch. And she's adorable. she's not a young woman by any stretch of the imagination, but she's wonderful, and she's just lovely. Although every time I go in there, I end up going in on the day when they're having a class and the shop isn't quite big enough to be able to get around everybody. So I was kind of glad that I had shopped one side of the store first, because I would never have been able to see that side of the store again. But that is where I found the other thing that I purchased. I mean, it was $11. It's not like it's going to kill me. It's just, it's killing me because for ages, I have wanted to try Coop Knits Socks Yeah. It's just a good, hard-wearing, high-twist sock yarn. It is merino nylon, I believe. I'm almost positive. Yeah, it's definitely merino nylon. So, not going to be your hardest wearing. But for a merino nylon, it really is super, super high twist to the point that it almost, you know, it looks like a very, very light fingering weight. This is it. This color does absolutely nothing for me. Do I need socks that are practically the same color as my legs? Probably not. I think that's, I guess you could go for, that's an idea. I only got 50 grams because I can usually get a pair of socks out of 50 grams if I am doing the heels and toes or a shorter sock, or so a different color heel and toe or a shorter sock. I can usually get 50 grams, one pair of very high gauge socks. But why did I buy this? I also have been crocheting the blanket. I'll take you upstairs a little bit later and into the echo chamber, and you can see it because it's sitting where I like to crochet, which is looking at the water. And, well, I don't like to crochet. There's no place that I like to crochet, but it's where I have been doing it. And I think in my head I was like, oh, I could just add lots of it to the blanket. That's a dumb idea. First of all, I already have 3 pinks. I don't need anything else pinkish. Second of all, this color is just weird. So the one thing I did notice is that I actually quite like this color with, this is some of the ripped out stuff that I had. So I could do, what is it, the slip stitch, where you do a 2-color, not slip stitch, linen stitch? Is it a 2-color half linen? Something like that. But there's a slip stitch pattern that uses 2 colors that looks pretty cool, that could be a way to sort of mitigate the weirdness. I don't know, but you know, I'd wanted to try it for such a long time. It's easily available in Europe, and in Europe it's only, I think, €5 a skein, so it's $11 here. The US has weird, I think the import, it's only like $250. Anything over that, and they charge an insane amount of tariff on it. So of course a yarn shop is going to get a large quantity of things, and so therefore they're going to be paying the tariff, which then gets passed on to us. But you know, buy your yarn and buy European yarns in Europe and have it sent over. It's the best way. I'm sorry, local yarn shops, I wish you could carry it, but it drives me crazy when I see Rauma for almost 3 times the price of what you can buy it in Europe. I love that yarn, but it is not worth it when I can buy it in Europe and have it mailed here. So, but I never would, in fairness, I never would have bought this on its own. I would have waited until something else I was buying in Europe and then added this as sort of an extra. So, you know, the world hasn't ended because I bought an extra $11 skein of yarn. I'm just kind of kicking myself because it's like, why did I do that? Have I completely lost my mind? This was a sensible purchase. This was silly. I don't know. I've been making socks with the harvested cardigan yarn. I've already made one. Do you remember, like, way back in the, I don't know, when was it a thing? Was it like the 80s or the 90s when it was a thing, rag socks? And it was just a 3x1 rib, and I think it was a cotton, kind of a slubby cotton situation. and they were, you know, squinchy and wonderful. They were these. They were this. And once I had harvested enough of this yarn, I was like, you know what, this is going to make a perfect pair of rag socks, and it is. I don't know why my bind off is flaring. It's probably because I did not. I just ripped it out and reused it. I did not wash it in between. Will I? I don't know. I'm still going through. I realized as I was doing this, I realized that the garment that I want, which would be like a shawl collar, probably a short sleeve, I actually have no use for this in my wardrobe. I don't know that I would in fact wear it because I have a fingering weight, a slightly darker tweed sweater that I love that I wear. It is long sleeve, but will I wear a shawl collar? I'm not convinced. So it also takes forever to rip out that sweater because it was, if you watch Engineering Knits, she recently did a video where she was ripping out a store-bought sweater, and it was alternating skeins. So you would rip one, you would basically have, I don't know why, I feel I need a visual for this, but there we go. You would basically have these two things winding at the same time, and you'd pull one and then wind it onto this one, and then you'd pull the next, because it was alternating skeins, and the only way to rip that out is really slowly. Unless you have a machine like her. I don't have that. So I'm doing it. This was the back panel, and it took forever, and it's not the most pleasant. I mean, it's not like it's bad. You're just sitting there, rip, 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 you know, and then wind, and then wind, and then go back. I only have one. I use a turkey baster as a winder, and I only have one, so I only have one center pull ball and then one, you know, giant ball. These sit better when you're knitting off of them. I should have a nitty knotty, wind it up so that I can have it in a hank, wash it, hang it to dry, or steam it, do something to get the kinks out of the yarn. I should. It's not gonna happen. I'm way too lazy. Like, way too lazy. And, I mean, these are unblocked. I think that they're gonna be fine once I've washed them. Yeah, I'm not concerned by the fact that they look untidy at the moment. So what? And I think that they will not look untidy once they have been washed and blocked. And I'm going to leave them soak for like 2 hours so that they forget what they were before. It's a theory. I'm sticking to it. I'm using my little, I actually am amazed. I keep reaching for my Mindful Metal 9-inch circular. Well, they're probably 10-inch circulars because the tips on these are really long. On my Lickas, they're nice and asymmetrical. So on the Licka, one tip is shorter, one tip is longer, which for me is really nice because my left hand, I'm basically just doing this. I'm doing all the guiding with my left hand, and my right hand just is pivot. It's all it is allowing. When I push down, it pivots this needle, which is how I get the yarn onto the needle. And so my right hand really doesn't move much at all. It's mostly my left hand doing all the, which is a variation of Irish cottage knitting. Why am I saying these things? I don't know. I don't know. I've forgotten how to podcast. I don't know. So I'm swatching for a vest. I'm really excited for that vest. You will see that vest very soon. I'm doing some socks. If you have any ideas for this, also shout out. What do you do when you have a skein? I mean, I just did this, like what? Well, it was like a year ago when I bought the crazy pink skein and it drove me crazy. And I was like, oh, color work. I mean, I could actually, this would be very pretty to save for color work. Like those are pretty together. How great would that be? Maybe I should do that, but then it's in stash and then I have a stash. That's not a thing I want to do. I don't know. And I still have the alpaca in the stash and my single in the stash. I've got like 3 whole skeins in stash. Yeah. I've also been mending. That's the other thing that I've been doing because I got a hole. And I finally fixed, so this is a new hole. And I already had a pair of socks on the mending pile. I knew this was gonna happen. The only question was where and how badly. This is not where I expected it to happen. I expected it to happen up here, but up here has felted nicely. So I might get it, that might never happen because it's already like 3/4 of the heel, except for where my actual heel comes out, like, you know, the sides of my heel, the top of my heel, it's all felted. So it's probably not going to get a hole because there's nothing left to